Hello, everyone. Just give me 1 second. I am just trying to make sure that I am live correct in the group. Okay. So I just want to make sure that you can all hear me okay. So if you're live in the group, in the Facebook group, because what I'm doing is I'm going live from Zoom into the actual Facebook group. So if you can hear me and you can see me, please put a comment down below and say, yes, we can hear you. I want to make sure that you can hear me and that I've got everyone given an opportunity to jump on live with me. Hi, Kristen. Thanks for saying hi. That's great that you can hear me. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen with you. I'll share it in a second, actually. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who is here and joining me today. The holiday period can get so busy, so I really appreciate that you are prioritizing your time, spending it here, learning with me today. Even though life is really busy, I totally get it. I'm a mum of 2 boys who also works really long hours, and I know time is totally precious, especially coming up to Christmas. But trust me when I say there really is no better time to address your problems than right now. Now I'm going to keep looking over to the left because I've got the comment box open here, and I want to make sure that if anyone asks any questions on the live comments that I can keep up with you. So I will pop over and keep looking over there. If I don't get to it straight away, I will come back at the end. I'll check it to see if there's any other questions. So before we get started with this question and answer session, I just want to introduce myself to those who are new in the group. My name's Dana, or you can call me Dana, or you can call me Dee. I am Australian, but I live in Seattle in the USA. My name to Americans is pronounced Dana, but in Australia we actually pronounce it Dana. So you can call me whatever you like. I'm a board certified holistic health practitioner and the founder of the Nutrition Method for Kids. And I support families impacted by ADHD, anxiety, and similar disorders to really fight symptoms with food and a natural approach so your child can feel better, do better, and be better. Hi, Janine. Hello, good evening. So after healing my own family, I became passionate about helping other families impacted by ADHD and anxiety really thrive. And I've felt compelled to share the information and lessons that I've learned. And so that's really what inspired me, along with my son, to get to where I am today. So enough about me. I want to get started so I can really share my knowledge and answer as many questions as possible. So I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second here. So I've just done up a little bit of slides, so you should see that coming up shortly, and you should see me in the top right-hand corner, hopefully, and so that's fantastic. So we're here to do question and answers. I want to try and answer all of your questions. So if you've got any more, if the time permits, I'll definitely come back to the questions that have been asked in this Facebook Live. So please put them down there and I will come back and I will answer them. But let's get started on the ones from the people who posted them before this Facebook Live. So give me 1 second. Okie dokie. So can you just let me know that you can see my screen? It should actually say question number 1. I just want you to tell me in the comments below in the Facebook that you can actually see my screen, and I'll get started. So first question we had was someone asking, they 1000% know that food affects her son's symptoms, but her husband is sometimes a non-believer. It's quite common. Thanks, Janine, for saying, yes, you can see my screen. Great. She wanted to know, do you have any published studies that show diet does help? Now, if any of you have actually seen my webinar, you'll know that I share a lot of studies in that webinar, and I'm going to share them with you today because I think it's such a great question. And I think it's really important for people to get an understanding of that it actually does work, that there are published studies in science that show you how much diet can work. So this was from Martine. This is a very, very common between the two partners. One might believe that a certain approach is better than others. I do find providing them the studies really does help. I'm going to send you a separate email on this as well, that I can list them out for you so he can go off and do his own research as well. So I wanted to first share a study in 2011 concluded that 64% of children diagnosed with ADHD are actually experiencing a hypersensitivity to food. That's really big, 64% of children. In 2001, 56% of ADHD kids tested positive for food allergies versus 6 to 8% of the general population of kids. So that's 56% of kids with ADHD tested positive for food allergies versus only 6 to 8% of kids in the general population. That difference is really quite dramatic. In 2002, a study was done to show the connection between food intolerances and depression. The study concluded that the patient's symptoms of depression considerably improved while on an elimination diet. And this very much also ties with anxiety symptoms as well. In another study in 2015, it showed the risk of hyperactivity increased by 14% with each additional sweetened beverage. Also, it concluded that soda consumption was associated with higher aggression. Now, I did see someone pop into the comments on the Facebook Live that their son had aggression. So if they are drinking soda, you might want to look to try and remove that out of the diet. In 2017, a study concluded that the addition of micronutrients in the diet improved overall function, reduced impairment, and improved attention, emotional regulation, and aggression. I was really fascinated by the next study, and this was done by the Autism Research Institute, which compares the behavioral effects of different types of interventions, and I'm going to share it with you today. And if you were on my webinar, you would have seen this as well, but it is just so fascinating to look at the difference between different interventions, medication versus diet versus other things as well. So since 1967, the Autism Research Institute had been collecting data from over 27,000 parents. That's a lot of parents. It looked at interventions such as amphetamine medication, antibiotics, antifungals, sleeping medications, SSRIs, certain vitamins and supplements, and different special diets. So it collated the responses and combined them into 3 categories. Symptoms were made worse, symptoms had no effect, or symptoms were made better by that particular intervention. So the better to worse column gives the number of children who got better compared to each child who got worse. And this better worse ratio is what I wanted to highlight to you today. And I'm going to pick a few common drugs like SSRIs and Adderall. So if you just want to bring your attention to the screen, I'm going to discuss first the impact of medications, or probably what I should really say is the lack of impact. So just going to keep an eye on the comments box as well. I will come back to those questions once we go through. I'm going to come back to those at the end. So let's start with Adderall. Adderall is a common medication that I'm sure some of your kids are probably on, and the doctors promise it will be the solution to easing symptoms. So the Adderall ratio of parent responses on who got better and who got worse was 0.7 to 1. So what that means is 0.7 children got better compared to 1 child who got worse while on Adderall. Can you really believe that? More children got worse than actually got better when using Adderall. I don't understand how this can possibly be a solution. Okay, I want to now highlight Prozac. In the study, Prozac has a 1.1 to 1 ratio. Again, this means that for every child that got better, there was another child who actually got worse. And we're going to move to Zoloft. Zoloft has similar results again. Zoloft is 0.9 to 1. Yet again, for every child that got better, Another had worsening symptoms. Okay, so this is where it really gets interesting. And I wanted to bring your focus to the special diet section. And, I know that I got off on a tangent a little bit about interventions, but Martin's question was very much about what scientific studies have shown that diet does work and that it really does. And so this one is now where I want to show you the results of this. So I want to bring your attention to the special diet section. I want you to brace yourself. So we're going to start with parents who implemented a gluten-free and dairy-free diet. Are you ready? I hope you're ready. It has a ratio of 24:1. Can you believe that for every 24 kids that got better, only one kid got worse? Okay, my mind was blown when I read that. Let's continue because it actually does get even better. I know a lot of parents talk about sugar in the Facebook group. So let's look at what happens when sugar gets removed from the child's diet. You ready for the ratio? Removed sugar, 27:1, meaning that 27 kids got better when sugar was taken out of their diet to every one kid that got worse. Oh my God, seriously, I was shocked by this research, and I hope that you're as shocked as I am. The difference in the effectiveness between medications and dietary intervention is huge, and it clearly indicates that changing your child's diet will be more effective than popping a pill. So Martine, I hope that answers your question today. I will send you an email after this Facebook Live with those studies so you can share them with your husband. Next, we have a question from Tracy. So just checking over the Facebook just to see if there's any comments there that I need to answer. So do you have a printed version of your ADHD diet and supplements that is available in a book or brochure to purchase? Tracy, thank you so much for asking this question. It is a good question and I get asked it often. I didn't want to use today's Q&A session to sell anything, but I thought I'd just give you a little rundown because you asked, and of course I want to answer. I would love to be able to have the time to collate all of my resources into a book, and it really is a goal of mine to do that in the future. But what I love and feel passionate about is working side by side with the families, and I love being a lifeline and there for them when questions pop up, as they always do. I don't have a book at the moment, but I do offer a signature 12-week online group program called the Nutrition Method for Kids. And this program is how most of my clients transform their families' lives. And the goal of the program is to really take you by the hand and lead you step by step to the feeling of being like less stressed, more in control, really being able to restore that calm back into your house, and to get the reduction of your child's symptoms that you really want and that lifestyle that you really want within 12 weeks. What I love about the program is that new information and training gets released each week. So it's totally manageable for busy families, because what is the key to success is realizing that Rome wasn't built in a day. Making quality lifestyle choices and changes does take time. So this is what I offer when you enroll in the program. It's a step-by-step system that removes any stress over what to eat, what not to eat, supplements to take, products to buy, what to do next, meal plans, grocery lists, replacement food ideas, quick look guides, links to replacement product, and over 250 recipes and ideas. And it's really invaluable in creating sustainable habits around family health and nutrition, so you can help reduce your child's symptoms once and for all. We also offer weekly group coaching calls, so you can get even more support and accountability when things are going wrong or things aren't going the way that you planned, and really get ideas on how to manage obstacles and challenges. And you also get a community of like-minded friends who are really on the same path as you, so that you never feel like you're really going through this journey alone, and can post for support at any time without the fear of judgment. I strongly believe that community is critical to success. Surrounding yourself with a supportive group of people who understand what you're going through and offer you encouragement and support, something you can't get with just a book alone. And that's really why I decided to create the program that way it is. But hopefully one day I'll have the time and I will be able to publish a book. It is a goal of mine. So next question is, I am so overwhelmed by all the information. This was Jenny, was on email. I'm so overwhelmed by all the information out there. I just don't know where to start. Okay, now I want everyone to remember this because I will say it all the time. I probably said it in this Facebook group a million times. I say it with the people in my program a million times, with my one-to-one clients. When you are building a house and you don't have a solid foundation, your house will fall down. Diet has to be the foundation of any plan, even a traditional medical plan or a holistic plan. It's really, really important to remember that. So where do you start? Okay, so if anyone asks me what the number one tip I have is, I will always say you want to remove the foods that inflame the gut. These are gluten, soy, and dairy. This tip should always form the basis of any protocol. Then we really want to look at removing foods that show a reaction on a food sensitivity test. So my son was really reactive to raspberries and corn. So we removed them from his diet so we could really work on healing his gut. Next, you want to reduce the amount of refined sugars and natural sweeteners, and use natural sweeteners instead. So things like honey, maple syrup, or dates really remove out those refined sugars from the diet. When we looked at the studies above, that 27-1 on removing sugar and changes in their behaviors. So that's a really good one to remember. You also want to be avoiding artificial flavors, colors, preservatives, and MSG. I know you might be wondering, how do you do that with so much candy these days and processed foods our children have access to? But when developing and working with my clients, I always provide suitable substitutes for treats because it's really important. They're kids. They need to be able to be kids. And so you can't just take everything out of the diet and expect them to be able to enjoy their childhood. There are ways around it. And so it's really important that they can have their cake and eat it too. When shopping, you want to choose organic and non-GMO food where possible. Now, you don't have to choose organic and non-GMO for everything. There is a site called ewg.org, and on there you can get the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen, and you want to definitely remove everything off the out of the diet that is on the Dirty Dozen list. You need to make sure that they are organic when you choose those products. With the Clean 15, it's okay not to choose organic for those Clean 15. And you really want to focus on eating a whole, nutritious diet with fresh fruits and veggies, grass-fed animal proteins such as meat, poultry, seafood, eggs, and also plenty of healthy fats such as avocado, coconut, olive oils, etc. You want to be drinking lots of water, purified water, spring water, so you are avoiding harmful chemicals that are in waters, but also water really helps detox the body and remove the toxins that are already in there. And lastly, if you do need to take the diet further, you can go further. There might actually be some really underlying tricky issues going on. Some kids can be sensitive to certain chemical compounds that are actually found in healthy foods, and they can be problematic. So things like oxalates, which are found in like kale and spinach, salicylates that are found in berries and apples, amines, glutamates, but you might need a practitioner's help if you need to take that diet deeper because it can get quite a bit complicated. So hopefully that answers you a bit of a question where to get started, focus on diet first. It has to be the foundation of any plan that you go forward with. Now we had a question from Robin. I have read a little bit here about functional lab testing to identify root causes. Can you tell me a bit more about that? And what would that look like if I decided to get my son tested? Robin, that's an awesome question. I want to first start by answering what root causes are, because a lot of people, if we say root causes, they probably don't know what that means. So I just want to explain that a little bit before I go into the lab testing. So just as there are causes of symptoms of a cough, like the flu or bronchitis or tuberculosis, there are causes of chronic disorders and illnesses. So these symptoms here, you can see, hyperactivity, things that are coming from ADHD, anxiety, depression, impulsivity. These symptoms are like a warning sign from the body that something else is wrong. And the only way to address it is to get the body examined further, specifically with functional lab testing. The goal of testing is really to identify and remove the underlying malfunctions that are going on in the body that are found in these tests, and really return the body to normal function. Now, how I work with my clients is, instead of just treating those symptoms, like simply putting a Band-Aid on it, like a lot of what medication does, I look at functional lab testing to really identify those healing opportunities in all of the body systems. So we've got, we take a deep dive into hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, and intestinal barrier systems. There are 3 main foundation lab tests that I recommend and use with my clients. So I use a food allergy and sensitivity test. This test looks for food intolerances that are going on inside the body. In my experience, the best version currently available on the market is called the Vibrant Wellness Food Sensitivity and Zuma test. This is a blood test, and it looks at sensitivities to different foods. Allergies that you have are really a true histamine response in the body. For example, so if you had a peanut allergy, and you might go into anaphylactic shock because you were exposed to peanuts. But you can also have something called food sensitivities, which are related to inflammation. So if you have leaky gut, and that's a topic for another day, food particles can get into the bloodstream, and the body starts to recognize them as a toxin and creates an inflammatory response to that. So that's a really, really important test if you want to look to heal the gut, because if you're still eating those foods that your body is creating an inflammatory response to, you're not going to be able to heal the gut. The next test I conduct is a gut test. It's a stool sample test that looks at the state of the gut. It looks for parasites, bacteria, worms, yeast overgrowth. There are also intestinal health markers that look at inflammation, immune responses in the body, reactivity to gluten, digestive enzymes, and are you digesting fat well? And then the final test that I use is the organic acid comprehensive profile urine test. So it's a urine test. This test reveals problems with some of the main functions that are going on in the body. And I love it because it gives you this like high level view of the whole body. It looks at metabolism, it looks at nutrient deficiencies, gut health, neurotransmitters, so all of those great happy hormones like serotonin and dopamine, which are really, really important and directly relate to, some of the things that our kids are feeling. It looks at detoxification pathways and much more. And so it's a great test for kids and can really identify underlying causes that are, contributing to ADHD, anxiety, sensory processing issues, behavior and learning problems. So I love that. And once we receive the completed health history questionnaire from my clients, plus all the test results, I then complete an interpretation of the results, and I give my suggestions for a 90-day therapeutic protocol, and it will combine diet, it will combine lifestyle changes, detoxification processes, stress reduction, so that's internal and external factors, and supplementation. Then you'll consult with me on the phone for a results and recommendation session, and my goal is to really give my clients hope, accountability, and individualized plans so that you can, really get back to the path to happy and healthy. And, it's very unique to each individual person. So hopefully that answers your question on functional lab testing. If it doesn't, please reach out to me in PM or send me an email. I'm more than happy to answer any more questions that you've got from that one. The next question that we had was from Laura. Thank you, Laura. How long before you see improvements in behavior after starting an ADHD diet? Great question. Once your family has really been able to make the required dietary changes and stick to them, most people can expect to sort of see a reduction in their child's symptoms really somewhere between 2 to 4 weeks. So for my son, it was literally within a week, but we did everything on day one. I do not recommend to do everything on day one. It was the most stressful thing that I ever did. And that's really why I've built my program the way that it is over a 12-week period, because it shouldn't be stressful. It should just be slow and steady so it becomes your new normal. Now, in saying that, this is just a guide, so that 2 to 4 weeks, because every child is unique. Some children have deeper underlying issues, and if that's the case here, then I will always recommend functional lab testing to identify what's going on in your child's body to design a protocol directly targeting those. What I also wanted to share here is the positive impact these dietary changes can have not only on your child, but on your whole family. A client of mine adopted the dietary changes for her whole family, and after the program, her total health was like positively impacted. She went to visit her doctor for an annual checkup, and he was shocked by the level of her cholesterol because she's always had dramatically high cholesterol, and he was wondering what she'd been doing differently. And the first time in her whole adult life, her cholesterol's dropped 30% within normal range. So dropped 30 points and was now within normal range. And he was just totally shocked at the change and really encouraged her to maintain the diet. So not only can it benefit your child, but it can definitely benefit you and your whole family as well. So the next question is from Lynn. Oh, and Gabrielle said that she was interested in that as well. So my daughter is a really picky eater. She only eats about 5 things. How can I get her to eat healthy food? I am at my wit's end each meal. I hear you, Lynn. I hear you, Gabrielle. It is a common problem faced by kids with sensory issues, with anxiety, with ADHD. And before I started on our journey of fighting symptoms with food, I used to struggle big time with my son. Not just his behavior and tantrums and everything else that goes along with that, but also with his eating. We literally used to battle at every meal, and it was so stressful. It was so unpleasant for everyone involved. I personally felt like a failure as a mum, and between you and me, I really just wanted to disappear most nights, but I didn't. I knew I couldn't, and I had to do something differently. So I really began to dig deeper into all of the research that I could get my hands on, as I truly believed deep down that there was something more to this, something more to this picky eating in particular. But I wanted to tell you that picky eating can be closely related to zinc, a zinc deficiency. Now, this won't be applicable for every picky eater, but it is actually super common for kids with sensory issues, anxiety, and ADHD. So zinc is so important when it comes to things like brain development, auditory processing, language processing, sensory processing, regulating the immune functions, eye contact, muscle tone, and the list just goes on and on. There was some research conducted by the University of Toronto that suggested that zinc has a crucial role in regulating how neurons in our brain communicate with one another. So this is affecting how our memories are formed, how we learn. So you can see how a deficiency in zinc can be very closely correlated with these disorders that affect the brain. Now, when children are zinc deficient, it can actually also cause a loss of taste buds and affect the way that our brain processes the taste of something. Once this has happened, many foods can actually taste terrible or even offensive. So as the loss of zinc gets worse, the way food tastes gets worse, and then the aversion to food obviously increases. And this can happen with any food, especially vegetables, things that have funny textures, smells, and colors. The children can then start to limit the food, and it becomes this vicious cycle. It might have started with zinc deficiency, but then it becomes a habit, and habits are very, very hard to break, and a lot of the time can get worse. What I'm going to do for you, I'm going to put a link in the comments to a recent video I did on picky eating. I went over some of the things that we just talked about. But what I also do is in that video, I talk about how you can actually look at home and test at home for a zinc deficiency. And it tells you how to do that test. So I'm going to pop that link to that video in the comments right now. You're going to be able to see that. And so take a look at the video if you want to know more. Now, if your child is struggling with sensory issues like the texture of certain foods, I have several techniques I encourage my clients to try. Food chaining is one of the most successful. The simplest way I can explain food chaining to you is to learn the secret to change the shape, the seasoning, change the cooking method, change the way your child tries the same food in different ways. So for example, okay, a potato can be prepared in a million different ways. Don't change the food that they enjoy, change the way you serve it. Change the texture and change the seasoning, include herbs and spices. Just keep introducing it. Keep introducing changes. Change up the shape, seasoning, and the preparation. You can deep fry, pan fry, make it into mash, tots, add spices, combine with sweet potato mash. The child will learn how to slowly expand the range of things that they will try in a less stressful way if you start with something that they love. I do go into food chaining in a lot more detail in my online program, but hopefully that just gives you something to start with. Could be a zinc deficiency, could be you need to look further into food chaining. Now we've got it's either Tara or Tara, and sorry if I said it wrong. I know my name can say Dana or Dana. And Gabrielle also really wanted to know this question. I want to know what vitamin to give my kid to help them focus. Okay. So pleased that you asked this question, because it is something I get asked daily, and you will see lots and lots of questions here in the Facebook group about it. I really do wish there was a vitamin I could recommend and sell, as I would be a really, really wealthy person. But sadly, it's unfortunately not that easy. The truth is, the problem isn't likely to be solved with just a vitamin. I see this popping up a lot with my clients, where they see a single supplement or a single food is going to change the way that things are for them. It's going to change the game. And unfortunately, it's not going to. How I can best explain it, why in particular, let's say a multivitamin doesn't work, is the dosage of each vitamin or mineral in a multi is not adequate to address deficiencies in the body. It's also important to understand what your body needs, what your child's body needs, not just guessing. One of my mottos, which I learned from my mentor, is test, don't guess. I want to tell you a little story. When I first started this journey with my son, I was seeking all the advice that I could possibly get. This was before I did my degree, before I did all of my multiple certifications. I had read on this particular forum that a particular vitamin had worked magic for her child. I'm not going to mention what vitamin it was or what supplement it was, because I really don't want to send anyone into a panic. But I was so excited, and I couldn't wait for this new supplement to arrive. I desperately really needed this to work. I thought for sure this was going to be the game changer for us, but I was just so wrong. It actually turned into the worst 4 days we had seen with my son's symptoms. Little did I know back then that his body actually didn't need that supplement. So of course it had an adverse effect on him. So here is the one piece of advice I really want to emphasize here. There is definitely not one size fits all. Your child is unique. Take this advice. Always have it in your mind, but also trust your judgment and seek advice from a qualified health professional. Don't stop yourself from sharing your journey, supporting others on their journey, providing suggestions, but just know that your journey is going to be unique. So hopefully that answers that one. Now, that was all the questions I had pre-prepared. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then I'm going to pop over to the Facebook group to see what other questions you've got from me. Give me one sec. Stop my screen, and you should see me now pop on over. Okay. So, hello. So who have we got here? Let me just open up all those comments. Okay, Chrissy asked, where can we get these tests done? Regular pediatrician office or a specialist office? Chrissy, really, really good question. You're very unlikely to be able to get it done by your pediatrician. They will probably say, don't bother, it doesn't work. That happened to me, and it's happened to multiple of my clients. We asked my pediatrician if we could do gut testing and food allergy, food sensitivity testing. He said, don't bother, don't work. It doesn't work. well, now I can show you the complete results of my son's journey. He is happy. His symptoms are almost pretty gone. I mean, we go in our ups and downs, but every kid and every journey has those. But he's doing well at school. His hyperactivity has disappeared and he's doing so well. So now in terms of where you would go to get them, you need to find a holistic health practitioner or a naturopath. I do these tests with my clients. We do them remotely. So if you do have interest in working with me, you can send me a PM. More than happy to talk to you about it. Every practitioner will probably do different tests based on what they like, but I work specifically and only with kids with ADHD and anxiety, and so that's what I do day in, day out. All I look at is labs for kids with ADHD and anxiety, so I know what seems normal and what is out of the range. So hopefully that answers your question. Michelle, where can we find optimal reference ranges? Now, that's a tricky one because most labs that normal doctors work with will really just give you the lab reference ranges. Now, the lab reference ranges, if you think like this, labs, people that go to labs, people that get tests are usually sick, okay? So the labs, their average ranges are probably of a lot of sick people. So you really don't want to be relying on the lab reference ranges. Now, the optimal reference ranges will differ per test. You probably need to work with a practitioner. I can't give you one global site to go to. In all of my training, we have different optimum reference ranges based on different tests and different ages and different things like that. And so it's really hard to just generalize to give you optimum reference ranges, but usually if you're working with someone, they should be able to tell you something seems right or not seems right. If you do have a test and you want someone just to read that results, again, feel free to PM me. I'm happy to read those results, or find a practitioner that will help you read those results. Okay, now for some reason I can't. Oh, okay, sorry. Hold on. I'm just trying to get to the questions on all the questions. Just give me 1 second. I can only see some of them. Okay, here we go. Okay, then we've got, who else do we have? What micronutrients do you recommend? Okay, Kristen. So, again, I base it on what we see on the labs. Okay, so it's really important to get testing to see what you're deficient in. Usually when we focus on diet first, we can really get the micronutrients in that we need. I always say diet should be first. Just layering on supplements is not going to help if you don't have the foundation of diet there. You're going to be wasting your money. I don't want you to waste your money. And the same goes for functional lab testing. Okay, so if you want to do functional lab testing and then have a look at what's going on in the body and then just put on supplements but don't fix the diet at the same time, you're going to waste your money because you're not going to see the results that you want. So it really, diet has to form the foundation of everything. And also you need to really try and feed your child with micronutrient rich foods first, and then look at what they're deficient in. So next question. Okay, if my son, okay, no, that's just a comment. Going up. Okay, Sylvia, what can we give for aggression? Okay, so again, good question. That very much relates to one of the other questions that I answered, and you know what I was just saying before. There's not one supplement that you're going to be able to give for aggression. I do see a lot of kids that when you remove gluten out of their diet, the aggression just disappears. I see it all the time. So, you know, I will tell my clients, and most of the people that I speak to, I will always say start with diet. If they say, oh no, I want to do lab testing, but their kids are eating a terrible diet, I'm like, let's start with diet. And most likely they might not even need to go to functional lab testing. So I really just don't want you to waste your money. I want you to understand that every child is different. Diet is the foundation. So focus on the diet. Once you've got that right, then look to see what is going on in the underlying body with functional lab testing. If you want to ask any more questions on that, feel free to send me a PM. But, just some of the things that my clients do take as a base usually is fish oil, magnesium, and probably a good probiotic, but that's really all I will recommend. And unless they're zinc deficient, I will obviously put on zinc, but I really try not to layer on too many supplements unless we fix diet first, because I really don't want you to waste your money, but also I want to know what they're actually deficient in, what's going on in their body. If they've got leaky gut, that's where we need to focus. If we fix the gut, if we fix what's going on in there, a lot of the other symptoms will disappear. I should probably come on and do a session on gut health in here in the Facebook group soon. And that will really explain how that affects things that you don't even think are connected, like, asthma, skin problems, breathing issues, ADHD, anxiety are all connected to the gut. And so if you can really focus on healing the gut, you'll have a really good chance of reducing things like aggression and anxiety and hyperactivity and things like that. Okay, so I think I've got everyone. I don't think that there are any more comments. Just let me give a couple more seconds on seeing if any more questions come up, because I really want to answer them, but I really thank you all for attending today. Hopefully I gave you some answers. Feel free to drop some more questions in here. I'll try to come back and answer them on comment. But I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas, wonderful holidays, happy new year. Really get some time to spend with your family. Hopefully this was able to, answer some of the really pending questions that you have to ask. And if there are any more, feel free to drop them in the comments. Thank you, and bye everyone. Hope you have a great day.